Welcome back to the Ember Report, where lanterns are raised and headlines fuel hexes. I'm Lydian, the voice in the flame.
I'm Len, the Witch of the Crossroads.
And I'm Sebastian, the Sorcerer of Annihilation.
Here is where we raise the lantern for the exiles.
And keep the tea hot for the queers, the cunning folk, and the activists who never fit the mold.
This week we're joined by our next guest, right from the Devil's Grip itself. Adam from the Devil's Conjure is at the desk with us. Adam, welcome!
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here.
Come on in, family.
The fire is kindled.
The Sabbath begins now. Today, we need to talk to you about the devil in the details. Why just reading headlines can be bad and what certain situations actually mean. 3 stories, 3 headlines. Each tell us where the fight burns.
Our first story, Trump's domestic terrorism memo targets ideology and not violence. The facts, the things that we know, Trump's new memo outlines plans to broaden domestic terrorism definitions. It lists anti-fascism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity as indicators of terrorism. It suggests the Attorney General can label any group as a domestic terrorist organization. But there's no legal process that exists for such a designation. There's no oversight or judicial review. It mirrors foreign terrorism laws that allow asset seizure, visa revocation, and criminal charges. Experts warn this would criminalize dissent and chill free speech, reminiscent of McCarthyism.
Why this matters to you. This creates a blueprint for labeling activists, journalists, and marginalized groups as terrorists. Undermines constitutional rights to protest, organize, and criticize the government. This chills donations. It chills speech and solidarity with targeted movements. And this matters because a direct threat to anti-fascist, queer, racial justice, and labor communities is a direct threat to everyone.
The witch's verdict is clear. Labeling justice as terror is the oldest spell of the empire. Naming people as the enemy simply because they are not the same as you, or think the same, or feel the same. It is no different than the Red Scare, McCarthyism reborn in a bright red hat.
And for our second story, an ICE agent shoots activist 7 times. Body cam footage contradicts DHS story. What we know, Marimar Martinez, an anti-ICE activist in Chicago, was shot 7 times by a Border Patrol agent. DHS claims she was armed and rammed her car into agents. Body cam footage reportedly shows she never brandished a weapon. Her lawyer, Christopher Parente, plans to release the footage in court. If the government indicts before the hearing, the video will be suppressed under a protective order. Martinez survived and remains hospitalized.
Why this matters to you. This demonstrates the impunity of federal law enforcement in using deadly force. Government control of evidence allows them to dictate the public narrative. It criminalizes dissent against immigration enforcement, and it sends a chilling message to activists. Protest, and you may be targeted.
The witch's verdict is clear. When truth is hidden under a badge, justice bleeds beside the road. This was an assault on the American people. Some of the first shots that we can name in this new civil war that Trump is waging on the people. Make no mistake, Trump is declaring war on the people. Anyone who does not swear an oath of loyalty to the beast and his false prophets is next.
In our next story, Israel and Hamas agree to the first phase of ceasefire, but big questions remain. What we know, Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal. And under this deal, Hamas will release 48 Israeli hostages. Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, including women, children, and those arrested during the war, free jailed Palestinians. Israeli forces will partially withdraw to an agreed line inside Gaza, though they will retain control over roughly 53% of the territory. The Rafah crossing will reopen for cross-border traffic and aid flow. Aid deliveries are to scale up. Hundreds of trucks per day are anticipated to relieve the hunger crisis. Despite this agreement, neither side has agreed to full disarmament of Hamas, permanent governance arrangements, or dismantling of military wings. A controversial post-war governance plan is proposed, a technocratic interim authority overseen by a board of peace, including Donald Trump and Tony Blair. Gaza would be run outside of Hamas control. Trump's 20-point plan frames the deal, ending the war, reconstructing Gaza, and establishing new governance. The U.S. peace plan also stipulates that within 72 hours of acceptance, all Israeli hostages, living and deceased, must be returned. Sharp criticism and skepticism persist. Humanitarian groups warn that unless all agencies can operate freely, aid influx won't reach the most vulnerable. Blair's role is strongly opposed by Palestinians and rights activists who see it as an extension of colonial control. Netanyahu has said Israel will maintain forces in Gaza until Hamas is disarmed.
This ceasefire is a fragile, partial pause, not a guarantee of peace. The devil is in implementation. The deal ties Gaza's survival to external control and technocracy rather than self-determination. Releasing hostages can bring relief, but if the structural violence continues, the cycle of destruction resumes. The framing of neutral governance is a common tactic to remove accountability and community voice. What happens in Gaza now sets precedent globally. Does the world allow reconstruction with silence, or does it demand justice?
The witch's verdict is clear. This is no triumph. It is a fragile law between storms. We must watch, call out betrayals, and prevent this so-called peace from becoming another erasure of Palestinian rights. Because there is no guarantee of Benjamin Netanyahu, the convicted war criminal in several courts, will end his genocide because Hamas releases the hostages. It was never about the hostages. With that said, let's widen the circle. Today, our guest is Adam from The Devil's Conjure. Adam, I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
Are you ready? Okay. So, why does the devil in the details matter right now?
Because the devil is primarily a figure in the modern age that we have come to fear, and it's a force not only to be reckoned with, but a power and an ally that we kind of need more than ever to shake shit up, to be subversive, to break the rules, and to go against kind of everything and every narrative that we've all been fed to believe, growing up in this society. And it's kind of time to shake shit up and to kind of bring it all toppling down and to build something new. And the devil's all about narratives and the story behind things and the power, seen or unseen, that is, an influence on this world. So
Interesting. That's really good stuff. When we talk about the devil and we talk about the devil in the details, it's very interesting because when we talk about the devil as a larger body of personages, right? He is in Christianity, at least, the adversary, the antithesis of all that is good in the world. So when we look at things like, this Israeli peace deal or this, I think the one that's the first story that we talked about, it's I think it's NSP, or it's the National Security Protection, it's an order, and it's the seventh one that's been given in the history of our country, right? And the seventh one is the first one that has been given, and it's completely unsealed, which means the details in that are he wanted us to see that he is naming anyone who is not him a terrorist. Mm-hmm. And it by default aligns us against the side of good, so to speak. We are now in this place of we are essentially the devil to these people. We are the antithesis of what is their societal good. And we when it comes to like the devil in the details, it's very, it's very that you have to pay attention to what's being said.
I love the kind of topic there of like, coming back to the origins of like the concept of the devil and like how that's relating to what we're experiencing now and how we can use that to our advantage working with these subversive spirits is such a wonderful thing. When we talk about the origins of the devil or Satan and like all these different concepts, devil, Satan, Lucifer, like going back to, like we get this concept of like talking about narratives, in the Islamic lore, we have al-shaitan, which is where we get this kind of concept, the adversary, right? It's not just one specific person, it's not one specific being, like there are multiple shaitans, multiple adversaries, and, this concept that, the adversaries typically, not always, but typically are jinn, which are subversive spirits, and they're whispering in your ear, telling you a story, telling you like, tempting you to do something. It's kind of like, I just kind of saw some parallels there with what we were addressing in terms of like, controlling the narrative, how the narrative's being told, where we are, and how we can work with these subversive spirits in the current times.
Delicious. We love a little delicious diabolical thing.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's it.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think, when Adam, I'm going to come back to you now, because like, where have we seen, like, when we talk about like the devil in the details of not just the devil himself, but like in history, okay, we have the devil in the details, which is like, pay attention, because these are things you should be paying attention to, but you're too busy focusing on these things, Mm-hmm. So I guess my question to you is, where have we seen this before in like history, or have you seen this in your personal life where it's like, the devil's in the details?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think it goes right back to talking about Trump again, and basically the theocracy that has come about over time, and the oligarchy with all this other bullshit too. But I think essentially they think, since their religion is false, they're literally trying to create, they're literally trying to like make the prophecy happen. Like they're trying to install him as their antichrist. They're trying, the second temple is being built, and they're trying to like align all these things according to the Bible, essentially to, it's almost like since their pews are emptying and the church's influence is waning more and more, they're having to try to create these incidences of like the rapture and the apocalypse and all this stuff to basically give Christianity more validity and stuff. And I think that's one thing that I've heard some of it talked about, and some people are afraid to like say anything on either side, but that's one of the things that I've been watching happening over time. And it's almost like they feel like they're running out of time to create and make all that happen. And so they're trying as quickly as they can to like make him appear like he's the Antichrist, and he's like this, even like him trying to make peace in the Middle East and all that stuff, with Israel and Hamas and different situations. And so I think there is plenty going on, and certainly smoke screens in place to sort of, take people's attention over here on BS that doesn't really matter or doesn't have quite the impact that some of the other situations clearly do. And so I think there is a lot going on that while people's attentions, that people are looking here and there, it's like people are losing sight of what's actually happening. And so there's a lot going on that people certainly need to be more aware of and be paying more attention to and speaking truth into as well. So there's a lot of narrative shifting and a lot of manipulation and stuff on a number of levels. There's a lot to unpack.
No, when we talk about the exactly what you just said, though, the people need to be paying attention, mm-hmm. and people are not paying attention. They are willingly maintaining ignorance, mm-hmm. and I don't understand why.
Yep. It's easier. It's kind of like
It's
people
easy.
who just accept everything that they're told by their religion or their political, representative, or all these other situations where people just kind of accept what they're told and they just kind of run with it, and the critical thinking's kind of out the window, and so they're operating automatically on like a subconscious level. And so from that standpoint, they're much easier to control and manipulate and things like that.
I think, though, it's one of those things that we we can't continue to do that. We can't just continue to default. Like, we have to develop our critical thinking skills. We Trump's doctor literally just came out on Friday and was like, he's perfectly healthy. His heart is actually like 10 years younger than him. A clear lie.
Yeah, okay.
Like a clear lie. Exactly. A clear lie. And it baffles me that people are just going to take that and be like, yeah, absolutely. The doctor said it was. Yeah, the doctor clearly lied.
Just like he did before, like
I think
4 or 5 years ago, when he claimed he was like in the best health of anyone like ever and stuff. And it's like, how he's like a bloated tick that literally lives off McDonald's and stuff. And he's like snorting Adderall, and he has lost such control of his bowels that he has to wear a diaper and stuff. So it's like he's not the
Literally.
strong, powerful man in control that all these people are looking to as like some shining beacon of hope. It's like he doesn't even have it all together. So he can't even maintain the truth around numbers or which country he's speaking about and things like that. So he's definitely not all there, not the best of us like the president's supposed to be, for sure.
I mean, just from like the history perspective and talking about patterns repeating, I mean, I think it was kind of unavoidable, the state in which the country is going. Now, do I think this is like the best route? No, I think this may be the worst route that we could have taken. But considering that we do see typically nations at least undergo some kind of forceful evolution every 300 years or so, and now that the United States has finally hit that mark, it does seem like it is following that trend that we do see throughout history. I think it's just like one of those things where, like, okay, this just so happens to be probably the worst route that it could have gone for that to happen.
From when we were what we were just talking about, we've seen like because I remember like months ago, time is weird. I don't remember specifically, but we saw like those headlines about the red cows or something, trying to.
Oh my God, the red heifers. Oh, okay, so I okay. When I got my equipment, I ran that as a story just to test everything, and I can tell you with absolute certainty about that. So what happened was, Mike Johnson went to Israel. Okay. And specifically to a part of the Gaza Strip that is like, you could look from this like ledge and see the Temple Mount. And according to Christian theologians and such, the particular spot that they were at is Shiloh. And Shiloh is the site of when this new temple is supposed to be built, right? And it's one of those things that Mike Johnson went to Israel and he met with these people, and they had these red heifers because there's supposed to be a sacrifice of these red heifers. It's supposed to signal like the return of the Christ, the building of this new temple, and the start of the millennial reign on earth. But what they don't know is that those red heifers are what we call the abomination of desolation, which means somebody who is not a Jew is going to sacrifice those cows. Mm-hmm. And that is not a good thing, because that is an abomination. A quote-unquote Gentile or a pagan sacrificing on the behalf of the Judeo-Christian God is like taboo. It's like, no, you can't do that. And so either they're not reading their book well enough, or we are, I don't know. Maybe we did miss the rapture, guys. Maybe we just all got left behind. We're fucked.
I certainly don't want to be
I think that's fine.
I certainly don't want to be in heaven with all of them, so...
No, hell no.
Oh, hell no.
Perfectly happy right here.
I feel like those rapture jokes happen annually, because I saw one of my first posts on Threads was a joke about the rapture from like 2 years ago, I think.
The
They do
rapture
this shit
happens.
annually.
Well, when we've lived in enough fucking climactic events in our timeline, like we've gone through so much shit in our brief period of history that I'm 99% sure that they're going to be studying our generation for years to come. They're going to be like, how the fuck did this millennial, 25 to 35 group fucking manage? And it's like, well, we didn't. We just flew by the seat of our pants, honey. Adam, I want to ask you a question because it's one of my favorite questions here. But like we try to ask people, like when your spirits, right? The spirits you work with and such. What spirits, guides, lessons, whatever you want to call it, are they trying to teach you right now in this moment that feel close to this particular fight? Like the fight against fascism, the fight against this authoritarian tyrant who is attempting to take over our country. What are your spirits saying? What are you feeling?
Stick to the shadows, but fight like hell, and to not be afraid to just absolutely just fucking destroy people if that's what's necessary to like kind of maintain peace in the world. Because I think that love is and it's one thing my husband, who's a practitioner, has always told me, like, love is one of the only things that hasn't really been tried in the world, like as a whole, like as far as like politically and things like that. But I also think that there is just as much need as for like hellfire. And I think that as practitioners, as witches, however people identify, I think that we are a force of karma. I don't personally believe in karma or certain things like that, but I do think that there are times when it's kind of like you either become the solution or you become part of the problem. And so I think one of the things that I'm personally, and I even had it come up with readings, with friends who read on my behalf and things like that, where it's just kind of like, it's time to curse more than ever, and it's time for some people to burn and to kind of feel all the wickedness they've put out into the world. It's time for them to kind of reap what they've sown. And sometimes you have to be the one to bring that to their doorstep.
I talked about this, I think, with you two last week, either in our post show or our main show. But like, my ancestors were very adamant about like, it's time to hide, it's time to go to the shadows, it's time to do this. And I was like, I have to be the target so that other people have a chance to get out the back door. And I'm okay with that. But like at the very beginning of the year, my ancestors were like, you need to hide, you need to get your shit, put it into like, like you got to start praying to Mary instead of, Hecate. And it's like, but I don't want to. I don't want to. But it is one of those things that we are in dangerous times, guys. Like, listen, listeners, if you hear anything, you need to understand that we are in dangerous times right now, and that this is not a joke when we say things like this is the next Civil War, this is the next World War III. It is not just hyperbole anymore. It is very much real. We are in a war now. Nobody says we're in a war when they're in the middle of a war. It's just happening. It's like afterwards, and I think Sebastian said this last week, but it's like afterwards that like we get this World War II, It was only called that afterwards, So that has been really sticking with me lately, and you said it, and you hit the nail on the head that like we have to be fighting. We have to be doing something.
Because otherwise we'll regret that we weren't on kind of the right side of history. It's like all these Trump supporters who are just now like realizing they're losing all the benefits that they've lived on and needed for all this time, and just thought they were the special ones who would never lose it. And since they were white and they're Christian, that they're going to be solidified and protected. And so now these people have lost jobs because of their religious or political affiliation. They've lost their marriages, and it's just like one after. And so now all these people are like, oh, we had no idea. It's like, well, first off, you voted for him twice. You took to the streets. You literally incited violence against people of color, people who are LGBTQ and other oppressed groups. And it's like, it's kind of too late now, even though that's great that now they're like, oh, we're sorry and stuff. It's kind of like it's too late because you were part of the effort to kind of push that and get that out there. And so as great as it is that there are a lot of people, a lot of people who are apologizing and all that, it's kind of like we're beyond that now. And so now those people just need to kind of get in line and be a force for good. But yeah, I think for people who are in power, like politicians and otherwise, to them it's just a game. It's like you can see that they're clearly just acting. They have all these hidden agendas, and they just spill bullshit and or spew it and just will say anything they need to that kind of serves their base or their intents. But I think people need to be able to just, it's kind of like the Maya, that the great dream. It's like a lot of this has lifted now, and so people were able to see them as they are. And with the internet, they're certainly not able to hide. But it's like now more than ever, people need to be speaking truth into things and to be able to break out of those limiting narratives and all the bullshit that we all were raised in, I'm thinking of like George Washington and the apple tree and all those different stories that they're not real. It's stuff that was just pushed on us. And so it's time for us to, and I won't be surprised. It's not something that I want, but I won't be surprised to see it in a large part come crumbling down, and for us to basically have to bring the greatest minds together to figure out what society and our governance and all that looks like going forth, because I think the two-party system's kind of out the door. There are even other countries that have 10 plus party systems. Like in Ireland, they have a pirate party, and they're kind of badass punk like guys who they're cool, but they're also in a lot of ways they're like the real Democrats basically. And so I think we're going to have to rewrite and rework a lot of this, the framework of how our society works to be able to break out of this, because it seems like every 75 years there's almost like a political socioeconomical reset that happens, and so I think it's something that we're just going to have to kind of move beyond and recreate for a better world.
1,000%. I love everything that you just said. On a lighter note, just when you were like, and there's like saying, oh, well, we're sorry. It's like insert soundbite from The Craft. Oh, you're sorry, you're sorry, you're sorry, you're sorry. But yeah, no, like 1,000%, we are seeing this kind of reset. And, we talk about how in a lot of systems, in a lot of spiritual practices, traditions and whatnot, like in order for something to be reset, in order for there to be creation, there needs to be destruction, right? But that also means that we as practitioners have our part. Like you said, like we need to be doing something. Now is the time to start doing baneful, malefic work. Now is the time to be working those subversive spirits. You'll hear it from me once, you'll hear it from me twice. My spirits are very wrathful. Let's get shit done. Let's start doing things left and right. We do see a lot of people who are just kind of sitting around and not doing anything, thinking it's going to blow over. Like, that's not happening. I don't know what you need to see that. We need to start moving. We need to start fighting. And fighting means that there needs to be action, right? So there needs to be some kind of call forward. There needs to be some kind of movement, as I was saying before. But yeah.
Revolution.
What does rebellion and or revolution or whatever you want to call it look like for witches? And I say witches, I mean all magical practitioners. I call everybody a witch because that's what society calls us all. We know that there's a difference between like a sorcerer, a witch, a fucking conjure worker, all of that. But to the rest of the world, we're just witches. They're like, you're doing that magic shit, you must be a witch. Well, if the shoe fits. But what does that look like for witches in particular? Because here at the Ember Report, we're kind of starting our little bit of a rebellion, we're gathering ranks, so to speak. The witches' army is recruiting. So, yeah, I guess, tell me what you think.
Yeah, to me, rebellion is, So I work with in a number of traditions with more spirits than I can even keep up with half the time, but Satan and the legions of hell certainly play a part in that. And it's just basically, it's beyond going against the status quo. It's us finding our place in sort of the new world and what that means for us. And And I speak a lot about narratives because stories and things like that play a huge role in sort of how I perceive the world, and obviously many of us, but in the way that I even work magic. And so rebellion is just kind of like this, for me, just like a massive pushback. I never have been someone that respected authority, and even as a child went very much against my parents and anyone around me who tried to tell me what to do. So I've always been one to kind of break the rules and try to shift the paradigms and things like that. But I think, especially in the times that we live in now, rebellion is just being able to not only say no, but to literally fight back, whether that's people taking the streets, rioting, protesting, and making people in power right now feel very uncomfortable, and to remind them that there's more of us than them. I think right with Trump's first presidency and his presidency now, and all of this that has come about, there's this idea that's being perpetrated that there are just like droves and droves of people on that side, when there are far more people, people of color, LGBTQ, and people just who aren't with it, like they're not for it. And so I think it's important to remember that there are far more, armies of us than them. And that's why anytime, even jokingly, when people talked about storming Area 51, it's like that made them very hot in the seat and hot in the pants. And so I think a big part of it is making them uncomfortable, reminding them that they are actually powerless without us, and that no matter what, we have a place in sort of in the new world. And so I think in part that's what rebellion is to me, is just kind of bringing the fight to them, and in whatever way, whether that's boycotting, whether that's hexing a motherfucker, or whatever it takes. So
No, I was just gonna say, like, it really is that, like, this is the time to make people uncomfortable. I mean, we are practitioners. We were always on the edge of society. We are here for that reason entirely, and we should be doing our part. And sometimes that is like, things need to be set on fire, whether that's metaphorical or literal. That's up to you. I think we do need to see a lot more, again, action. Just when it comes down to it, we need to see things getting done. It's not just about sitting there and just being like, well, okay, well, I hope this works out. No, we need to see you, whether that, like how Adam said, whether that's like cursing a motherfucker, or kind of getting to the streets. I've told people before, we talked about this last episode, you don't need to be the one right there when the protest is happening. But if you're a practitioner, or like for whatever reason can't be out there during the actual protest, what can you be doing to assist them when they are out there, right? What spirits are you sending out there to help them, to assist them? What work are you doing, and from wherever you're at, in order to get something done? That is something that people need to be figuring out, be creative. Creativity itself is rebellion. We, as being a practitioner itself, is already rebellion in and of itself. So, this is something that we all need to be kind of on the same page of.
I agree completely with that. We really need to, curse people, play dirty, do road openings for local organizations, things like that. Help out however we can. There's a lot that we can do.
But you hit the nail on the head. It means we have to be doing something. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that I get, that there are a lot of like witches and stuff that are very tired and don't want to do anything. I'm one of those witches. I get it, honey. It is so tiring. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do, and that job is to fight. Justice is on our side. Like, it is. At the end of the day, justice belongs to the people. Mm-hmm. And the people are waking up. And I think that we're seeing that right now, and in droves. With this like, again, the whole devil in the details nonsense, not nonsense, but the concept of the devil in the details is like, we are not ignorant. We're not stupid. We can read, we can see, we can hear, we can understand what's going on. This man is dying. Mm-hmm. This man is cognitively impaired. This man is a wannabe tyrant of anything, but he's also just a little man. He's one man. And yes, there are quote-unquote legions behind him, but there are far more legions behind us than there are, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally. Like, we have, like, all of these legions of spirits and people that are against him more than there are for him. Now, I have weird conspiracy theories. I do think, people who try to attack Trump directly, like, the president or any kind of, like, spiritual leader itself is always protected by other magical practitioners, other spiritual folks. And so I'm never going to tell you to directly hit Trump, but I am going to tell you that there are people around him that if you cut the legs off the spider can't move. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about being very careful with what I say because, with the devil in the details, these laws that are passed where they're listening to our stuff. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if ICE is listening to us right now. However, I'm not going to change my messages. These bitches are seriously taking over and trying to create this authoritarian regime and a police state here in America, and the people just aren't having it.
They should be afraid.
Yes, they should be. Government should be afraid of their people. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was just hyperbole in V for Vendetta. I genuinely think that they were onto something. Like, people should not be afraid of their governments. Governments need to be afraid of their people. Mm-hmm. And they've lost their fear of us because we haven't done anything since, like, I mean, we protest, yes, but, like, when was the last time? It was the Civil War. We had a war about this. Like, and it's time for another war, I think. I don't want that. I don't want to fight. I don't want to kill somebody. I don't want to harm anyone. But you've done enough harm to me and my people. Am I supposed to just sit back and let you continue to fuck with my people? Like, my black and brown people, my fellow queers, my fellow marginalized anything. Insert the blank. You want me to stand by and actively not take a role in defending and protecting them and just let you steamroll over everybody I love and care about? Fuck no. I have no time for that. I have no time to sit here and continue to be love and light and, all good things come back to me. Bitch, I am a good person, and a lot of shit does not happen to me that is good. So we know that that's not good. Like, that's not real. So I'm tired of this concept that we have to play by some rules when they are not playing by rules. Mm-hmm.
The whole point is that we as practitioners don't have rules. That's like the entire point, like, yes, traditions, they have like rules and practices and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, like, the rules are for them. Okay. The rules are not for us. And we need to be using that against them. Number one. Number two, 1,000%, we need to be like, enough is enough, right? When are you going to say enough is enough? Other countries, it takes far less for them to finally, like, light the buildings on fire, like, literally far less. Mm-hmm. They would have done that on day one. With that being said, like, coming back to Len, you said, like, doing a road opener for, like, things. Do a road opener for their demise. Why are you keeping yourself so locked up? Do a road opener for their endings. Yes, 1,000%. Like, these are things to be taking note of. But, like, I think too, a lot of people, whether practitioner or not, marginalized group, they're scared, and I understand. As a person of color, I don't know if I'm going to get stopped and deported to a country that I've never been to a country whose language I don't speak. If they send me to a Spanish country, I'll be fine. But, like, there were reports of people being sent to countries they've never been, and they were born in the United States. And so, I understand that there is this level of fear, but the point is that you have to do it scared. Otherwise, nothing will get done.
Very much the doing it scared part is a theme that is recurring, because I would almost wager money, if I had any, that if we were to go back in time and talk to people in like the Revolution, during the Civil War, during any conflict in American history, and ask them, what are you feeling right now? What are you thinking? They'd be like, I'm terrified. I don't want to do this, but it's the right thing to do.
Actually,
Now,
go ask them
go ahead.
yourself. Go to a cemetery, conjure up, perform some necromancy, and see what they say.
They're going to tell you it's fucked. It was not fun. It's not exciting. It's not something I want to do, because who wants to fight your neighbor? Who wants, like, seriously, who wants to fight somebody that you don't have a problem with in their as a person, just some of the things they believe in? I don't want to fight people over ideology. I'd rather fight because you're just a bad person.
Yeah, and I think it's important for witchcraft to be dangerous again. I think we have spent, our groups and peoples have spent so long in America, at least, to trying to make witchcraft acceptable again with Wicca and other traditions, and potentially literally whitewashing certain things to make people feel more comfortable and to make it more welcoming. And I don't think witchcraft should be so welcoming. People should be fucking scared. Like, people should be terrified that I can dry up their man's manhood, or I can do a road closing to someone's joy, happiness, love, health, success. I mean, people should be fucking terrified of witches. I keep hearing one thing that practitioners amongst the occult community saying that they wish in some ways that witchcraft wasn't so mainstream, because there's been some of it that's been kind of taking, almost like the wind is in a way has been taken out. And in some ways I do agree. I think it's as much as I love the idea of, and from the position of someone who owns a business and who offers services, I love the idea of magic being accessible, but not to the same degree. But I think people need to be fucking scared. Like, I will haunt your nightmares. Like, I will be there when you're awake. Like, you will never escape me. Like, I will find you. I don't even need to know your name or face. Is like, I will come to you, and they should be threatened. They should be scared. People should wonder, like, damn, can they really do that? And it's like, yeah, I can. I do it every day.
Make witchcraft dangerous again. But the point is, you're right, we should make witchcraft dangerous again. I think we said this. Did we say this last week? But if we did, we're saying it again. Witches are the ones that you fear. Like, not to sound like Batman, but we are the justice that comes in the night. We are the ones that, like, come and steal your milk and take your fucking cattle and eat your babies. We're gonna eat your babies, crops. Kids. Literally. Like, it's our job as witches. And mainstream witchcraft has done a really good job at, like, trying to push this narrative that witches are not bad people. And at our core, I don't think a lot of us are bad people, but we are capable of doing really bad things.
What's necessary?
And we've lost touch with that, and it's so frustrating, because why are we sitting here and not hexing, not cursing? Who the fuck? Like, I'm not going to bash Wicca, because I don't think that is appropriate personally. I will never bash another tradition in our craft. I think we need to stand together and accept that we have differences, and not everybody's going to fit the same mold. But I will never understand why they came up with that concept of whatever you do comes back to you 3 times. That is some colonizer white people shit.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I was like,
yeah, it's people coming from Christianity. They step into it, but they never let some of that go. So they still have that guilt and stuff. I see it all the time, and it's like, dude, you left Christianity 20 years ago. Let that shit go. Go fuck somebody up. Go get laid. Get your money. Do whatever you got to do, but quit. It's the guilt that people still. I see it with clients all the time. They're still walking with all that guilt, and it's like, are you trying to be a witch, or is this really what you want? Because you're still hanging on to all this baggage and stuff that they weren't able to unload at some point. And that, I think they brought that into. And when I mentioned Wicca, I certainly wasn't trying to speak down. I mostly meant because there was like a campaign number of decades ago, basically trying to make make witchcraft or Wicca more welcoming and to seem safer and to make it more palatable for people. And I think in some ways that can do a disservice to people of a modern age, but that's just how I feel.
I have to agree with you. Not because, like, again, I don't think you are bashing Wicca, but I will say that you, again, hit the nail on the head. People are leaving Christianity, coming to witchcraft. I was one of those people. I left Christianity, took about a year off, and came to witchcraft. However, your spirits, your gods, whatever you work with, okay, the only people I think care about whether or not you are, quote unquote, like sinning or hurting somebody, maybe your ancestors. Maybe. Maybe if they were one of those people that grew up in those kind of faith beliefs where it's like, don't hurt somebody, what's wrong with you? But your spirits, your gods, do not give a shit if you are hurting somebody, if you are helping somebody. All they care about is your sovereignty. Are you doing something and acting out of your own power? I am very cautious of any witch or magical practitioner who says that I need to make like reparations to my spirits or my gods. No, I didn't sin against them. I might have, quote unquote, sinned against my fellow man, but I didn't fuck anything up with me and Hecate. In fact, she's probably proud of me for cursing your bitch ass. And so, I don't know. I'm very of the opinion that you're right, that it's this Christian guilt that is carried over into witchcraft. So I don't want to harm anybody. I have access to all of this amazing power now, and I am so, in tune with nature and the land and all of this, but I can't hurt somebody. That's so wrong.
It's like, look to nature. When people are like, it's all love and light. It's like from life to death to nature and beyond. It's like, look to nature. I live in the mountains here. I see hawks fly down and grab a bunny and this cute little bunny, and I love them too. Like, we have a yard and it's filled with, we have like groundhogs and bunnies and snakes and all this, but yeah, it's like when that bunny's just like foraging for greens and stuff and just living, and you see a hawk go and come down and grab the bunny and take off. It's like, that's just life. And the bunny's not like, man, why me? And the hawk's like, oh shit, I can't believe I did that. It's like, no, he's like, I'm about to go tear this bunny in twain and eat its guts and then go on about my day. It's like, it's not personal. It's kind of like, it's not personal, it's just business. But it's the way that the universe functions. And so I think we can twist and delude ourselves thinking, with all the guilt and the shame and like laws of three and all the stuff that we pile on, it's like life's hard enough without us adding more rules and more restriction and stuff that just isn't real. It's that is only based in like Christianity and potentially other religions and magical systems or systems of belief. But yeah, it's like in nature, if you look to nature, they're just doing what they have to live, survive, thrive, whatever that looks like for them. And I think we can kind of take a page out of that book and kind of come back to reality and realize that it's like at the end of the day, somebody has to do witchcraft to like, help their dying grandma or escape ice or whatever that looks like. They're doing what they have to do. And later on, they can sit and think and worry or feel shame or whatever. But it's like, sometimes things need to be done, and it's like you have to be able to kind of push beyond that, And I think that's one of the things that people get hung up on. And it's like, well, it's kind of like when I teach my students and my clients and stuff. It's kind of like sometimes you have situations where you have to be able to not only get your hands dirty, but you have to do some really shady stuff, and you have to be able to like just push beyond all those barriers and stuff that we placed upon ourselves and just kind of get to it.
I mean, like you said, the devil's in the details. The details are you left a religion to get away from feeling like shit, right? Like, let's just take Christianity, because that's the one that has touched all of us in one form or another. We left that faith, some of us, to get away from the concept of sin and notions of wrongdoing. Why are you going into a new system and putting those same yokes on yourself? Like, why? Why are you doing that? Just be a witch, be evil, be wicked, do the fucking things that are not fun, and other people are scared to do. I don't understand. So, we've been doing a lot and talking about leaving these things, the devil in the details, but, like, what can we do? You know, Sebastian, I think you have done a lot of thought into this, and so I'm just going to default to thee.
Absolutely. So, you know, based on this theme, on the theme of this week, the heart of this work is going to be both offensive and defensive work, working both sides, you know, kind of taking, you know, there's not just one practice that kind of takes this approach to like subversive spirits, but also working both sides of, let's just say, like the demonic or, you know, certain types of spirits in various ways, but also the spirits of herbs and utilizing them in both ways as well. So, you know, with the heart of this week's episode being the devil in the details, the work that we're going to be doing is going to be a sort of run devil run. And so I had an idea, and it was to kind of utilize, you know, the other side of Devil's Shoestring, Devil's Claw, Devil's Pod, you know, building off of last week's episode with the apparent aspect that violence is unfortunately increasing in the current Civil War. And with that being said, you know, we can utilize like Devil's Shoestring for protection, and to trip up the devil. You know, we can use it to trip it up. We can use it up to trip up our enemies, you know, trip up the law, you know, those who wish us harm. You know, you can use it for domination and control. So you implement this in a number of ways, right? Like, some practices really prefer like dust, and then others like using oils. You know, if you're going to use different types of charms or talismans, you know, these are ways to move as well. I was thinking of using you can use them, as we were talking about earlier with Len, like poppets, and utilizing them. Devil's Claw, which is good at protection, but also like really good at summoning. You know, and exorcism, so we can use that on both sides of the spectrum as well. You know, you can use it, I like to use the kind of name itself and the way it appears as like grasping and clawing at evil. And then we can utilize Devil's Pods to like scare away and drive away evil influences. But you can use these in both ways of what they can do. So like what I like to teach my students is like, okay, if an herb is like really good at breaking hexes, it's also really good at hexing. You know, it can do both. So utilizing that concept to work these herbs in whatever your practice calls, to also infest our enemies with quote unquote devils, you know, these subversive spirits, infest them with them, you know, infest their homes, infest their work, infest their lives, infest their minds, and, you know, bind these devils, quote unquote, these spirits to our enemies, these with like Devil's Shoestring, you know, using Devil's Claw to summon them to our enemies, Devil's Pod, one of my favorite ways of using Devil's Pod, because it is like an anchor for the plant that it grows, is like to use it to plant a seed of whatever it is that I'm wanting into my target. So what I'll do is like you can pray over it, do your incantations, whatever you need to wake up this spirit of Devil's Pod, and plant like the seed of discord, or like kind of those like subversive spirits, like using this to plant the seed for them to be able to access your enemies. And Devil's Pod also makes a great offering to like chthonic spirits. So you can utilize, if your practice calls for using Psalm 37:15, basically like it, let their arrows pierce their own hearts kind of thing. That would be a good one to move forward with.
It's cool.
Adam, you're a conjure person. You work with the devil and other things. What would you add to this working, maybe, if you had to add anything? If you wanted to add anything, of course.
Yeah, there are a number of things. I'm just going to walk in here to my other charger. I actually did charge my phone, but I had like an extra charger, but it shortly died. But yeah, There would be a number of things. Probably things like gunpowder. I would probably work primarily with well, I guess if we're talking about just like straight up hexing people, there are a number of things, like the Pika Pika powder, which is like really some nice malefic materia to just basically light people on fire. It's basically a plant that, like, if you come into contact with it and with just your skin, that it causes just like burning, itching, just absolutely an uncomfortable experience. Like I mentioned, like gunpowder. I actually use knife dust from one of my friends. You may know of Marcus McCoy, but he's a blacksmith, and so he used to sell like knife dust, which is basically from him forging knives and blades and swords and different things. And so it's like a grit that I add to different things just for that martial quality. And then probably like dirt from like a murderer's grave or a soldier's grave or something to that effect. Yeah, there's all kinds of nasty stuff that you could certainly throw in there. Just kind of depends on like the effect long term or otherwise, and kind of how far you're willing to go. So
we love dirty materia and getting grimy.
That's good. I love it.
With that said, I think we have a pretty solid working, and I just want to end it by saying this has been the Ember Report, where resistance is witchy and spells are not optional. I'm Lydian, the voice in the flame.
I'm Len, the Witch of the Crossroads.
I'm Sebastian, the Sorcerer of Annihilation.
And I'm Adam Darkly, the Devil of the Ozarks.
Where can we find you if people want to find you, Adam?
Yeah, you can find Devil's Conjure on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can find our website at devilsconjure.com, and you can always email me at devilsconjure@yahoo.com with any questions, inquiries, and things like that.
If today's fire stirred something up in you, share it. Cast it wide.
If you'd like to linger a while, there's always tea on the stove, a place in the Resistance, and room at our table.
And we will be carrying this Ember over to Ashes and Sparks, which is our Patreon after show, for an extended conversation with Adam. You can find that at patreon.com/The Ember Report, where for as little as $1, you can get access to our after show and a bunch of other goodies that we are working and conjuring up for you there. But until next time,
may our rage spark resistance.
May our grief become fire.
May our magic be sharp and unrepentant.
The lantern is lit.
You're still out there.
And so are we.